The town wanted her dogs dead by sunrise. They had no idea those same animals would be the only thing standing between them and drowning by sunset. 6 a.m., the clock tower's chime echoes through the valley as 6 massive shadows emerge from the morning mist. German shepherds, but not like any you've seen before. Silver-maned, prehistoric in size, moving in a flawless diamond formation through the cobblestone square. No leashes, no collars, not a single bark. At the center walks Leah, 24, silver-haired, barefoot, silent. The crowd parts like she's carrying a plague. Mrs. Hendricks yanks her daughter back from the curb. "That girl's not right," she hisses to anyone who'll listen. "Those aren't dogs. They're weapons. Someone needs to do something before those monsters kill someone." What the town doesn't know is that Leah can't speak, that her silence isn't a choice, it's a prison built by tragedy, and her monsters are hiding a secret so extraordinary it will rewrite everything this valley believes about loyalty, language, and what it means to be human. Before we go into details, click subscribe, like, and comment where you're listening from. I would be glad to know this story goes as far as Canada, all of the United States of America, Australia, Africa, and even the United Kingdom. So let me know where you're listening from. Let's begin. Leah wasn't always the wolf woman of the valley. 3 years ago, she had a voice that could fill a stadium. She was a world-class climber, engaged to Mike Chen, the man who taught her that trust isn't built with words, it's built in silence, thousands of feet above the earth, where one wrong move means death. Then came K2. The expedition that was supposed to be their triumph became her nightmare. Oxygen deprivation at 26,000 feet took Mike's life and shattered Leah's brain in ways no surgeon could fix. She came down the mountain with sensory scramble, a neurological disorder that turned human speech into white-hot chaos. Every conversation, a migraine. Every voice, a weapon. But Mike left her 6 elite German Shepherd puppies he'd been training for high-altitude search and rescue. While the world saw a traumatized woman retreating into madness, Leah was building something revolutionary behind her gates. A language without words, a bond that transcended speech, a search and rescue team that could hear disasters before they happened. And now, West Carmichael wants her land. He's weaponized the town's fear, painting Leah as a dangerous recluse harboring wolf hybrids. The seizure order is signed, the clock is ticking. But there's a storm coming that only Leah's dogs can sense. And when the dam breaks, this valley will learn that the woman they tried to destroy is the only one who can save them. The wind at 26,000 feet doesn't howl, it screams. Leah's lungs burned as she clipped into the fixed rope, her headlamp cutting through the pre-dawn darkness of K2's death zone. 60 feet ahead, Mike's silhouette moved with the fluid confidence of someone who'd summited Everest twice before turning 30. "Oxygen check," his voice crackled through the radio, warm despite the -40 cold. Leah glanced at her gauge. 3 hours left, plenty for the push to summit and back to Camp 4. "Good," she managed, each word stolen by thin air. That's when she heard it. A sound like the mountain taking a breath, the ice shelf beneath Mike's boots spiderwebbed in slow motion. "Mike!" The crack swallowed her warning. She watched him fall 15 feet into a crevice, the rope going taut, then slack. Wrong kind of slack. Leah's body moved before her mind caught up. Down climbing, ice axes biting, blood roaring in her ears louder than the wind. She found him wedged between blue walls of ancient ice, his regulator hissing uselessly from a shattered tank. "Take mine." Her frozen fingers fumbled with her own oxygen mask. Mike's hand shot up, stopping her. Even through the frost on his face, she saw him mouth the words, "Base camp, the puppies." "Shut up," She was crying now, tears freezing on her cheeks. But Mike was already fading, hypoxia stealing him in pieces. His lips moved one more time. "Promise me." Leah gave him her oxygen anyway, pressed the mask to his face with shaking hands while her vision tunneled to a pinpoint. She doesn't remember the next 4 hours, doesn't remember hauling his body onto the ledge where the Sherpa team finding her blue-lipped and convulsing beside him, doesn't remember the helicopter evacuation or the week she spent in a Kathmandu ICU while her brain rewired itself around the damage. What she remembers is waking up. The hospital room was full of people, her parents, Mike's parents, the expedition leader, the neurologist with kind eyes and a clipboard thick with scans. They were all talking at once, a cacophony that felt like ice picks driven through her skull. Her mother's sobs became grinding metal. The doctor's explanation became a swarm of wasps. She screamed until her throat bled, hands clamped over her ears. Sensory scramble disorder, the neurologist explained later in writing. The auditory cortex is misfiring. Human speech triggers pain responses. It may be permanent. They flew Mike's body home. Leah couldn't attend the funeral. Too many people trying to say they were sorry with words that felt like knives. But she kept her promise. Base camp had already packed up when the Sherpa delivered the crate. 6 German Shepherd puppies, 8 weeks old, silver-maned and enormous pawed. Mike's final project, Alpine search and rescue dogs bred from championship European lines. He'd spent 2 years planning their training program. The puppies didn't speak. They whined and yipped and howled, sounds that didn't hurt, didn't fragment. When Leah sat in the cargo hold on the flight home, surrounded by warm bodies and wet noses, something inside her chest unlocked. She lost her voice on that mountain, lost the man she loved, lost the person she used to be. But she'd gained 6 reasons to keep breathing, 6 promises to keep, 6 souls who would teach her that language isn't about words, it's about trust, forged in silence, the kind that holds when everything else falls away. The compound sits 3 miles outside town, hidden behind a wall of pines that locals swear grows thicker every year. From the road, it looks like any other mountain property. Weathered barn, stone cottage, and Mike's old truck rusting in the driveway. What they can't see is the 20-acre training ground carved into the forest behind it. Leah steps onto the porch at 5 a.m., bare feet, silent on cold wood. The dogs are already waiting in formation, 6 pairs of amber eyes tracking her every micro-movement. She raises her left hand, fingers spread. The gesture is subtle, a tilting of her wrist, nothing more. All 6 dogs drop into a sphinx position, synchronized like a single organism. Inside the barn, the real work begins. Leah flips a switch, and the rustic interior transforms. LED panels illuminate a maze of obstacles that would make a military canine unit jealous. Climbing walls, water channels, rubble piles constructed from salvaged concrete, and everywhere, lasers. Red dots appear on the far wall, 3 quick pulses. The lead dog, Atlas, a 110-pound male with a scar across his muzzle, launches forward. He weaves through the obstacle course with impossible precision, following the laser pattern Leah paints across surfaces with a modified tactical pointer. When the light stops on a specific concrete block buried in the debris, Atlas digs. 30 seconds later, he's extracted the training dummy hidden inside. Leah's thumb presses a device on her belt. An ultrasonic pulse, inaudible to human ears, ripples through the space. The remaining 5 dogs shift formation, creating a search grid pattern across the rubble field. This is what 3 years looks like. 3 years of teaching herself acoustic engineering from YouTube videos watched with subtitles. 3 years of converting Mike's training protocols into a language that doesn't require her voice. 3 years of building a communication system based on light, vibration, and the electromagnetic frequencies dogs can perceive that humans cannot. She taps a rhythm on a drum pad, 3 sharp beats, 2 soft. The pattern translates through subwoofers buried in the training ground's foundation. The dogs respond instantly, shifting from search mode to extraction protocol. They're not just following commands, they're reading an entire vocabulary Leah has written in wavelengths and pulses. The neurologist called it impossible. Sensory scramble patients retreat from stimulation, Dr. Aris had said during her 6-month evaluation. They don't build sensory empires. But Leah isn't retreating, she's translating. Every frequency the dogs can hear that she can't speak, every visual cue that replaces the words locked behind her broken auditory cortex. She's built a bridge between 2 species using the only language that doesn't cause her pain, pure signal. On the south wall, a topographic map of the valley glows under UV light. Leah has marked every hiking trail, every cliff face, every location where a human could fall or get lost or need someone to find them before hypothermia sets in. Mike taught her that mountains don't care about your plans, they care about your preparation. She presses another sequence on her belt, the ultrasonic command for rest. All 6 dogs settle onto cooling mats, panting lightly, eyes still fixed on her. The town thinks she's the crazy woman who talks to animals. They don't know she spent 1,000 hours teaching these dogs to read disaster before it speaks, to sense pressure changes that signal avalanches, to detect human stress hormones in floodwater. They don't know that her silence isn't madness. It's the most sophisticated search and rescue operation the valley has ever seen, and no one has clearance to understand it.
West Carmichael's Range Rover kicks up dust as it climbs the dirt road to Leah's property. He's made this drive 3 times in the past month, each visit more insistent than the last. Today, he's brought a briefcase and his lawyer. The dogs sense them before the engine cuts. 6 silver shapes materialized from the tree line, forming a loose perimeter around the cottage. They don't growl, don't bark, they simply exist, a living wall of muscle and intelligence that makes West's lawyer take 2 steps back toward the car. Jesus Christ, Marcus mutters, adjusting his tie. You said she had pets. She does. West's smile doesn't reach his eyes. Big ones. Leah appears on the porch, barefoot as always, her silver hair catching afternoon light. She doesn't speak, doesn't gesture, just watches West with the same unreadable stillness as her dogs. Miss Chen? West ascends the steps, briefcase in hand, ignoring the low rumble from Atlas's chest. I think we got off the wrong foot last time. I'm here with a revised offer. He opens the briefcase, pulls out a document thick with legal language. 2.4 million, cash. You can relocate anywhere you want, take your companions with you. Leah's eyes flick to the papers, then back to West's face. She makes no move to take them. The resort would bring 300 jobs to this valley. Your property is the linchpin, prime location, mountain views, access to the ski slopes we're developing on the north face. He steps closer, lowering his voice like they're conspirators. Between you and me, this land isn't safe for you anymore. People talk. They're scared of your dogs, of you. Wouldn't you rather start fresh somewhere people don't judge? Leah's hand moves, a single gesture, fingers pointed toward the road. The meaning is unmistakable. Leave. West's jaw tightens. He snatches the papers, shoves them back in the briefcase. You're making a mistake, a big one. He turns to leave, then pauses at the bottom step. Those dogs, they're the legal crowbar I need. Every unleashed walk through town square is a violation. Every nervous parent calling City Hall is ammunition. You think you're safe behind your fence? You're not. He climbs into the Range Rover, Marcus scrambling after him. As they drive away, West pulls out his phone and dials a number he's had saved for weeks. Peterson, it's West Carmichael. About that public safety committee you're forming, I'd like to make a substantial donation, and I have some footage I think you'll find concerning.
The town park sits in the heart of the valley, a green space where families picnic and children shriek on playground equipment. It's also part of Leah's morning route, a calculated risk she takes 3 times a week to keep the dogs socialized, to prove to herself that she hasn't completely surrendered to isolation. Today, the park is usually crowded for 6:30 a.m. Joggers, dog walkers, a teenager with a camera phone positioned conspicuously on a bench. Leah's instincts scream wrong, but she's already committed, already crossing the entrance with her 6 shadows in perfect formation. That's when she sees him, a man in his 30s, athletic build, wearing a hiking vest with too many pockets. He's crouched near the playground, ostensibly tying his shoe, but his eyes track Leah's approach with predatory focus. 20 feet away, 15. The dog's ears swivel forward, picking up something Leah's damaged hearing can't process. Atlas's hackles rise fractionally, a warning sign she's learned to read like Braille. The man stands. His hand emerges from his vest pocket holding what looks like a dog training whistle. Except when he blows, Leah hears nothing. The dogs hear everything. The sound hits them like a physical blow. All 6 German shepherds freeze mid-stride, then erupt into chaos. Not attacking, Leah's training is too thorough for that, but reacting. Ears pinned back, lips curled, deep guttural growls that vibrate through the morning air like thunder. Parents scream, grab their children. The man with the whistle staggers backward, playing terrified, hands raised in mock surrender. Help! They're going to attack! The teenager's camera captures everything. The angle is perfect, carefully framed to show 6 massive dogs appearing to menace an innocent bystander. What it doesn't show is the whistle, the ultrasonic frequency designed specifically to cause pain and aggression in canines. The deliberate provocation. Leah's hands move in desperate patterns, sending visual commands the dogs struggle to obey while their ears are being assaulted. She presses the frequency device on her belt, emergency recall, the pattern that means danger, come home now. But the ultrasonic whistle overrides everything, a scream only they can hear. It takes 45 seconds for the dogs to respond to her commands. 45 seconds of viral footage showing vicious animals barely controlled by their unstable owner. 45 seconds that will play on loop across every social media platform in the valley. By the time the dogs settle into formation, the man with the whistle has melted into the gathering crowd. Leah sees him slip the whistle back into his vest, sees him nod to someone in a parked sedan. West Carmichael's sedan. She wants to scream at them, wants to explain that this was a setup, wants to grab someone and make them understand. But her voice is locked behind a wall of neurological fire, and even if she could speak, who would believe the silent woman over the frightened victim? A park ranger approaches, radio already raised. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to leash those animals immediately." Leah pulls 6 leads from her bag with shaking hands, clips them to collars the dogs never wear. By noon, the video has 15,000 views. By sunset, it's national news. The headline writes itself, "Dangerous wolf hybrids terrorize Mountain Town Park." West Carmichael watches it trending from his downtown office and smiles into his scotch. The crowbar is in position. Now he just needs to pry. The video hits 2 million views by the 3rd day. News vans park outside the valley's single coffee shop, interviewing anyone with an opinion. And everyone has an opinion. "I've seen those dogs," Eleanor Peterson tells a reporter, clutching her pearls like they're rosary beads. "They move like predators, like they're hunting. That girl can't even speak. How is she supposed to control them when they finally snap?" The Facebook group, Concerned Citizens for Valley Safety, balloons to 800 members overnight. The posts are a fever dream of fear and misinformation. Someone claims the dogs kill the deer on their property. Another swears they saw Leah performing rituals in the woods at midnight. A veterinarian from 2 towns over, who's never examined the animals, writes a viral thread about wolf hybrid aggression patterns. Peter Garrison appoints himself leader of the mob. At 36, he's a former insurance adjuster who found his calling in online outrage. His YouTube channel, Mountain Truth Hunter, has been dying for content like this. He organizes the protest for Saturday morning, advertising it across every platform. By 9 a.m., 40 people have gathered outside Leah's gates. They carry signs, "Protect our children," and "Wild animals don't belong in town," and "Leah Chen equals public danger." Peter live streams the whole thing, his phone capturing every moment for his 7,000 followers. "We're here peacefully," he announces to the camera, his voice dripping with manufactured reasonableness. "We just want answers. We deserve to know if we're safe in our own community." The crowd chants, honks car horns. Someone throws a rock that clangs off Leah's mailbox. Through it all, the property remains eerily silent. No movement, no response. Then the dogs appear. 6 silver shapes materialize from the tree line, like ghosts, taking position along the interior fence line. They don't bark, don't growl, don't even pace. They simply sit in perfect formation, amber eyes watching the crowd with unsettling intelligence. "Look at that. They're trained to intimidate, military precision. This woman is running some kind of compound up here." A woman in the crowd screams when Atlas tilts his head, tracking her movement. "They're staring at us. They're targeting us." But the dogs don't move, don't react. Their stillness is more terrifying than any aggression could be. They look like statues carved from smoke and silver, like creatures that exist beyond normal rules of animal behavior. Leah appears on her porch. She's wearing the same jeans and tank top from the viral video, her silver hair loose around her shoulders. She doesn't acknowledge the crowd, doesn't even look at them. Instead, she raises one hand in a subtle gesture. The dogs stand in unison. Another gesture, they turn as one body and disappear back into the forest. The crowd goes silent. Someone whispers, "What the hell was that?" Peter's livestream chat explodes. "Mind control," and "not natural," and "call animal control now." "You see?" Peter addresses his phone with triumph. "No commands, no voice, just whatever that was. This isn't normal dog training, folks. This is something else, something dangerous." By evening, the video has another 1,000,000 views. West Carmichael watches from his office and makes a call to the mayor. The town council schedules an emergency meeting for Monday. The resolution is already written. They just need the votes. Dr. Eris watches the protest footage for the 5th time, coffee growing cold on her desk. Something nags at her, a pattern her clinical brain can't quite name. She's been Leah's neurologist since the Kathmandu evacuation, has spent 3 years documenting the rare hell of sensory scramble disorder. But this silent communication system is new data. She picks up the phone, dials a number she hasn't called in months. "Miss Chen, it's Dr. Eris. I need to see you, not as your doctor, as a researcher. Please." The text comes back 30 seconds later. "Tomorrow, 2 p.m. Come alone." The compound looks different in daylight, less fortress and more sanctuary. Leah meets her at the gate, and for the first time in their professional relationship, Dr. Eris sees something other than hollow trauma in those gray eyes. She sees purpose. Inside the barn, Dr. Eris stops breathing. The training ground sprawls before her like a neurological research lab disguised as a kennel. Frequency generators, spectrographic displays, laser grids, and everywhere, notebooks filled with hand-drawn waveforms in acoustic measurements. "My God," she whispers, "you built this?" Leah nods, gestures to a laptop on the workbench. A document opens, typed painstakingly over months. "They hear what hurts me. They filter the chaos." Dr. Eris reads faster, her medical understanding crystallizing into something profound. Leah hasn't just trained dogs, she's created a living buffer between her damaged auditory cortex and the world. The dogs respond to frequencies she can transmit, ultrasonics, subsonic pulses, light patterns, while simultaneously alerting her to environmental sounds her brain can't safely process. "Show me," Dr. Eris says. Leah presses a button on her belt. A tone generator emits a frequency at 22 kilohertz, above human hearing range. All 6 dogs swivel their heads toward the eastern fence line. 30 seconds later, Dr. Eris hears it too, a car engine approaching on the distant road. "They're triangulating sound sources for you," Dr. Eris breathes, "acting as external sensory processors." Another demonstration. Leah plays a recording of human speech, a news broadcast. Immediately, 2 dogs move to flank her, their bodies creating a physical barrier. When the recording stops, they settle. "They protect you from auditory triggers." Dr. Eris is scribbling notes furiously. "They've learned to recognize the frequencies that cause you pain and position themselves to dampen the input." Leah types on the laptop. "Mike designed their breeding line for high-altitude work, enhanced hearing, pressure sensitivity. I just translated what they already could do into what I needed." Dr. Eris sits heavily on a bench, staring at the dogs with new eyes. Atlas approaches, nose twitching, and gently presses his muzzle against Leah's wrist. She taps a rhythm on his shoulder. 3 beats, pause, 2 beats. The dog's ears swivel, scanning the environment, then settles with a soft exhale. "Biofeedback loop," Dr. Eris murmurs. "He's monitoring your stress levels, cortisol markers in your sweat. When you're dysregulated, he regulates the sensory environment." Leah's fingers fly across the keyboard. "The town thinks I'm crazy. West thinks I'm dangerous. They want to take them away." Dr. Eris meets her eyes. "This isn't a pet situation, Leah. This is adaptive technology, living assistive devices." She stands, mind already racing through legal precedents. Service dogs have federal protection, but this is beyond anything ADA has classified. You're not just managing a disability, you engineered a symbiotic neurological system. Will they listen? Dr. Eris thinks of the viral videos, the mob, West's money greasing council palms. "I don't know, but I'm going to that meeting Monday, and I'm bringing evidence they can't ignore." The town council meeting lasts 17 minutes. West presents edited footage. Eleanor Peterson testifies about community terror, and Peter Garrison's petition carries 3,000 signatures. Dr. Eris's testimony about adaptive neurological systems is drowned out by a councilman who asks, can she control them or can't she? Because that video says she can't. The vote is 6-1 in favor of immediate seizure. Sheriff Tom Bradshaw hates this part of his job. He's known Leah since she was 16, remembers her summiting Half Dome with Mike, all light and laughter and fearless grace. The woman waiting on her porch now is a ghost of that girl. "I'm sorry, Leah." He keeps his voice low, though he knows it hurts her anyway. "I have to execute the order. The dogs will be held at County Animal Control pending behavioral evaluation." Behind him, 2 animal control officers carry catch poles and tranquilizer guns. A transport van idles in the driveway, its rear compartment divided into 6 steel cages. Leah's hands shake as she raises them, the gesture she's never wanted to use. the one that means surrender. The dogs emerge from the house in single file. No resistance, no aggression. They understand somehow that this is different from training, from commands, from the language they've built together. Atlas presses against Leah's leg one final time before walking toward the van. The others follow. "Ma'am, you'll need to come too." The second officer steps forward with paperwork. Psychiatric evaluation, 48-hour hold. It's mandatory. When the first tremor cuts him off. Subtle, like a heavy truck passing on a distant highway. The officers exchange glances. "Earthquake?" mutters Bradshaw. The second tremor is stronger. Coffee sloshes in the mug someone left on the van's hood. Birds erupt from trees in a black cloud of panic. And then Leah sees something that stops her heart. All 6 dogs have gone rigid, ears pinned flat, noses pointed north toward the mountain. Atlas begins to whine, high, urgent, a sound Leah recognizes from 3 years of training. Disaster frequency, the pitch that means avalanche, rock slide, structural failure. She grabs Bradshaw's arm, points frantically toward the North Ridge. He doesn't understand. How could he? He can't hear what the dogs hear, can't feel what they feel. The pressure change, the subsonic groan of concrete giving way. "Ma'am, you need to..." The officer reaches for her, and that's when they all hear it. A sound like God tearing paper, a low, rolling thunder that builds and builds until it's not sound anymore, but force, shaking the ground beneath their feet. North Ridge Dam, 12 miles upstream, built in 1967 with concrete that was never meant to last 50 years. It's failing. The radio on Bradshaw's hip erupts in static and screaming voices. "Dam breach, repeat, dam breach, wall of water, evacuation." Leah doesn't wait for permission. She rips open the rear door of the van and the dogs explode out, not fleeing, but assembling, falling into formation like soldiers hearing battle stations. She pulls the frequency device from her belt, fingers flying across buttons she's programmed for scenarios she prayed would never come. The pattern pulses out. Search and rescue. Full deployment. Lives at stake. Bradshaw grabs her shoulder. "You can't. The seizure order." Leah meets his eyes, and for the first time in 3 years, she forces sound from her damaged throat. One word, raw and broken, and absolutely clear. "Move." The wall of water hits the valley 12 minutes later. Leah hears it before she sees it, a roar that even her broken auditory system can't filter out. Then it rounds the northern bend, a churning brown monster 30 feet high, carrying trees and cars and pieces of houses in its teeth. Downtown is chaos. People run in every direction. No plan, no coordination, pure animal panic. The evacuation sirens wail too late. Parents scream for children. The elderly freeze on street corners, unable to process the impossible sight of a river where Main Street used to be. Leah doesn't run toward safety. She runs toward the flood. The dogs move like a strike team, each one reading her commands before she gives them. Atlas takes point, his massive frame cutting through knee-deep water that's rising by the second. Leah's belt device pulses patterns she's drilled 1,000 times in the training compound. Sector search, locate human scent, prioritize small, weak, or trapped. The coffee shop collapses as she passes it. The water's waist deep now, current strong enough to knock grown men off their feet. Leah sees Peter Garrison clinging to a lamppost, his phone still gripped uselessly in one hand, filming his own potential death. She doesn't hesitate. A gesture, 2 fingers pointed, sharp whistle. Nix, the smallest female, arrows through debris-choked water and clamps her jaws on Peter's jacket collar. She's been trained for this, for ocean rescue protocols adapted to flood scenarios. Peter screams as the dog drags him toward higher ground, certain he's being attacked, right up until Nix deposits him on the courthouse steps. Across the square, Eleanor Peterson is trapped in her sedan, water rising past the windows. She's pounding on the glass, face white with terror. Leah sends Titan and Freya, 2 dogs working in tandem, one breaking the rear window with trained precision, while the other positions for extraction. Eleanor emerges gasping, clutching Freya's harness as the dog pulls her through current that would drown her in seconds. The elementary school. God, the elementary school. Water is flooding the ground floor where teachers are trying to evacuate 70 children up stairwells. Leah's hands fly through commands, building search, multiple targets, prioritize small humans. Atlas and Storm breach the entrance, their training activating like muscle memory. They herd panicking children toward the stairs, their bodies creating barriers that guide rather than force, their size intimidating enough that even terrified kids instinctively follow. West Carmichael's wife is screaming from a second-story balcony, their 8-year-old son trapped on the first floor. She sees West himself 50 yards away, frozen behind the police line, useless. She sends Shadow, the most agile climber, who crashes through a window and emerges 30 seconds later with the boy clinging to his silver fur, small hands buried in silver fur. The water peaks at 42 inches downtown, 17 minutes of liquid hell that rewrites the geography of the valley. When it finally begins to recede, leaving behind a soup of mud and debris and shattered lives, Leah collapses against a brick wall. The dogs return to her one by one, soaked and exhausted, tongues lolling. Atlas has a gash across his shoulder, Nix is limping, but their eyes are bright, purposeful. They've done what they were born to do. Sheriff Bradshaw finds her there, surrounded by her pack, both of them too tired to move. He's carrying the seizure order, now soaked and illegible. He tears it in half without a word. The Valley Hospital runs out of beds by nightfall. They're treating people in hallways, in the cafeteria, in conference rooms converted to triage centers. Hypothermia cases, broken bones, pneumonia setting in from contaminated floodwater. The emergency generators hum, while outside the National Guard sets up relief stations in parking lots lit by portable floods. Leah sits on the floor of the pediatric wing, too exhausted to move. Around her, the 6 dogs have spread themselves among the children like living blankets. Atlas lies beside a 7-year-old boy with a compound fracture, the dog's massive head resting gently on the child's uninjured arm. Nix has curled around twin girls who watch their house collapse, her warmth stopping their shivers. Storm positions himself at the feet of a teenager in shock, a steady presence that anchors her to reality. Eleanor Peterson stands in the doorway, IV still in her arm from her own treatment. She's staring at Freya, the dog that dragged her from her drowning car, now keeping vigil beside a sleeping infant in a portable crib. The woman's face is a war between everything she believed and everything she just survived. "I called you a monster," Eleanor says, her voice breaking. "I signed the petition. I voted to take them away." Leah doesn't look up, doesn't have the energy for anger or vindication. Her hands move in a simple pattern, a gesture the dogs know means, "Rest, stay calm, you're safe." Dr. Eris appears with blankets and a medical kit. She kneels beside Atlas, examining the gash on his shoulder with gentle efficiency. 12 confirmed saves that we know of so far. Search and rescue is still pulling people from the debris, but the initial wave, your dogs are responsible for at least 12 lives. A commotion at the nurses' station draws their attention. West Carmichael has arrived, his son wrapped in a thermal blanket, his wife still being treated for shock in another wing. He sees Shadow, the dog that pulled his child from certain death, and something in his face crumbles. He approaches slowly, like a man walking to his execution. Stands over Leah with his expensive suit ruined by mud and his carefully constructed power in ruins. "My son," he manages. "Your dog, Shadow, he went back after the first trip, went back into the water because he heard my boy crying." Leah's eyes flick to Shadow, who's now resting beside a cluster of elementary school kids, his presence a comfort they instinctively trust. "I tried to destroy you," West continues, his voice raw. "I knew the dam had structural issues. The engineers warned me 2 years ago when I was planning the resort.
I buried the report because fixing it would have cost... I buried it. And then I tried to make you the villain so I could take your land and build my legacy on a lie. Sheriff Bradshaw materializes from the crowd that's gathering. Mr. Carmichael, you should stop talking. No. West pulls out his phone, pulls up files, emails, engineering reports. I should have stopped talking 3 months ago, before the smear campaign, before the setup in the park. He hands the phone to Bradshaw. It's all there, everything you need. Peter Garrison pushes through the crowd, camera already rolling, vulture instincts overriding his own rescue hours earlier. But before he can speak, a mother steps between Leah and him. Then another, then Eleanor Peterson, IV pole and all. Put the camera away, Eleanor says quietly, or I'll throw it in what's left of the river myself. The crowd parts as a gurney rolls past, carrying another flood victim. The paramedic pauses when she sees the dogs, watches Atlas gently lick the hand of the child beside him. Are those the German shepherds from the viral video? She asks. Dr. Aris stands, places herself between Leah and the world. Those are certified search and rescue service animals, and their handler just saved this town. Leah finally looks up, meets the eyes of the people who called her crazy, dangerous, unfit. She doesn't need to speak. The children sleeping peacefully against silver fur speak for her. The 12 empty body bags that would have been filled without her dogs speak for her. The wolf woman is dead. In her place stands something the town will spend years learning to understand. A guardian who never needed their approval, only their survival to prove her worth. Outside, the valley begins the long work of rebuilding. Inside, Leah rests her hand on Atlas and finally, for the first time in 3 years, allows herself to believe that silence can be its own kind of victory. Thank you for staying with us till the end of this story. I'm sure you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe to get more interesting videos like this.